Hello, those who join us on a Thursday afternoon for exciting instalments of the Consonance Course. It's very nice to see you again. My name's Emma Barnes. We are on session 4 of the Consonance Course, which is super exciting because we're getting very close to the money. This is the part of the process where we start to sell the books. Like we did in production last week, we're not just going to look at features within the system that are only to do with selling. We're going to be looking at features in the system that tend to be brought to bear at this point in the process. So we're going to be looking at a variety of different ways to update data, to be using data, getting it out of the system, and manipulating it in batch as well, because the closer we get to publication, we tend to be thinking about things in terms of a season or a set of publications. So we're going to be looking at some interesting ways to be a bit more efficient in our approach there this time. So yes, so number 4 in the process, and previously we looked at acquisition and the editorial element of the process, extremely important of course, then production, now we're on selling, and next week it's going to be much more to do with money in terms of royalties, getting money out to the contributors at the end of the process. We're going to be again following the sort of format where we step through the individual parts of consonants in an attempt to structure this course. We're going to be looking at different ways into making the most out of consonants as the process goes through. So we'll be looking at checks today in terms of metadata quality to ensure that our metadata is complete at this stage. I mean, you know, it's getting perilously close to publication, so we need to make sure that our metadata is approaching its sort of final readiness stage. So we're going to be looking at how consonants can point out where there may be some inadequacies. We're going to be using an import to update prices. Now, this isn't necessarily something you do pre-publication, but it's in the vein of these more sort of batch actions that I want to talk about today, being able to manipulate a large set of data for the purposes of selling more books, but rather than having to go into each individual record one by one, we're going to look at how to import price update in one go. Again, this sort of overview idea, we're going to be looking at a whole range of analyses at the season level, which isn't really something you'd see in Onyx perhaps, but it is a very usual way of grouping a set of products. You know, we talk about the spring-summer 2024 season, we talk about the fall-winter 2024 season, so I think it's quite meaningful that we can look at our data at this level and understand where we are, or any aspects that need some attention. We're going to be looking again at the grid. This is a great way now to dive into the detail to manage the minutiae of the to-dos that need doing in order for this thing to get out the door. But also the great thing about the grids is that we can see work next to work, almost like a spreadsheet, so that we can again get that sense of how we're doing at product and work level, but also how we're doing at list level. We're going to be looking at some of the automation tools that Consonance provides in order to make this extraordinary exercise a little bit less data intensive, effort intensive, I should say. So we're going to be looking at how to get data out of EPUBs and into metadata, where it can be put to use and used to enrich discoverability in a single click, which is pretty thrilling, I've got to say. Looking forward to that bit. We're going to be looking at this point about some of the things we have to do at this stage of the process in order to sell books and also satisfy contractual obligations. So we'll be looking at gratis copies and track copies. Sometimes we need to send gratis copies out to authors and agents. We might want to send track copies out to reviewers. So we'll have a scamper through that. I've injected some code into the presentation. You thought you were here to learn about consonants, and now I'm making you look at something a bit codey. We're going to talk about how to set up Onyx in Consonance, and I've put this on the screen because I'll be talking about how the process is that we talk between us. You contact us and say, we're going to be sending Onyx to a new supplier, can you set it up? And I'm going to be talking about a little peek behind the curtain, how we do that, and how malleable the process can be to accommodate the requirements that your recipients are presenting you with now, but also into the future. Then we'll be looking a little bit at Onyx itself, the aspect of Onyx that you can see through the interface. You'll notice on the PowerPoint thing here that the screenshot I've taken is from our demo site, and this is where the demo site falls down, because a demo publisher does not send Onyx to anybody. So we're going to be flipping over to a live site at that point to have a look at some real transmissions that have occurred, and I want to guide you to be able to see, who got your Onyx for what and when and under what circumstances. So that'll be great fun. And then, because we are in the selling stage, we are going to be looking at producing marketing materials out of Consonance. So advanced information sheets one by one, advanced information sheets in a batch, and also other sorts of materials like flyers. I've got a very exciting cat-heavy flyer here, you can see. So we'll be looking at how to arrange that. So that's our plan for the day. Lots to cover. And I will just say that next week we're going to be looking at royalties. It's the last session that is intended to cover the entirety of the publishing workflow. Sessions after that will be hopefully based on some feedback from you, the treasured clients, as to what you would like to see. We'd really like to go into detail on anything that you feel that we've missed in this course, because we've covered a lot but still can't cover absolutely everything. So if you want to know how to pick really good thema classifications, if you want to understand a bit more about keywords, if you want us to run through another import, if you want to ask gnarly setup questions about a particularly odd Onyx recipient, then very, very excited to hear the areas that you'd like us to talk about, and we can plan those in. So email support@consonance.app in the usual way with any good ideas. If no ideas come in, then I'll just start pointing your noses at interesting aspects of the system anyway. But if anything occurs to you, definitely drop us a line and that will be lovely. So we are going to go over to the system that we've been talking around for the last few weeks. This is the real Consonance system, but it's a pretend press, feline press. I mean, there's something in this though, isn't there? Perhaps a feline press should be set up dedicated entirely to cats, the publication of cats, their history, cats of the world, so on and so forth. So we're going to be looking at our exciting imaginary cats programme. We've been moving these products towards publication, and now we're going to be having a little bit of a look about, are we ready to unleash these fantastic books onto the world? So I'm going to look at Cats in Space today, and I'm going to use this menu to see the options where I could go. As we've said previously, a lot of the pages throughout the system have links that lead to the same pages. So I can get to check results, which is where I'm going from here. I can also do that from within the works list, or I can use the product search to bring up a list of contenders, and then I can click on that link as well. But for now, I'm going to go to check results. And a suffusion of red on the screen suggests that we're not entirely ready to go to market just yet. So what we're looking at here is a list of checks that in and of themselves are not difficult or complicated, but as we all know, tasks tend to proliferate in publishing, and before you know it, you've got 4 products, 4 things to check. You've got to check, a page count, an ISBN, and a bibliographic note, and it adds up to 232 different things to have a look at. So this is a really helpful page to avoid holding all of those thoughts in your head and thinking, oh gosh, what have I missed? This is a great page to come to say, I have missed the page count, fine. Or to say, the page count is present, well, that's for the audio file. And then to clean up your checklist here by saying, fine, I'm going to suppress that for this work because I'm happy enough that we're not sending a page count through on an audiobook. So this is a really nice page to almost to sort of step through as a standalone project and to see if you can improve your data, and if not, to choose to waive it on this instance. Now, it's important to stress that even though we see rather startling red failed signs here, this is not going to impede your process. This is for information only. We want you to know that there's a piece of data that hasn't passed a particular quality check, but it's not going to block your ONIX going out. It's not going to block anybody making any use of this data. It's not going to block you being able to generate an advanced information sheet. This is here as a means of improving your data quality without imposing slightly arbitrary restrictions on you going through your day. So the sorts of checks that we've got here, if we read the top one, it says there's a single contributor product, and that product's contributor doesn't have a biographical note. And so I can go in and I can either add a biographical note to the contact, or I can add a biographical note marketing text onto this work. So I know that I can satisfy all of these 4 in one go. And it might prompt me, to think, okay, yes, well, that's fair dues. Let's have a look at the contributions. We've got Mary Glover here. And if we go through and visit the profile, then we're going to be able to see that, sure enough, no biographical note. So we might want to say, lives in Scotland. It's a little shorter than we would like, but I can't talk and type at the same time. Return back to the checks on that work, and now, great, that's no longer a problem at the top of the page here. That's gone into the green section. If we scroll down, we're going to be able to see that that's been resolved. So fairly lightweight way to be able to look at the problems, have a sort of gauge whether you think they're a problem that's worth doing something about. The next one down, ISBN is present. I'd probably do something about that if this wasn't an imaginary cat book. But then some of the others, maybe unit weight, I'm happy to let that slide, certainly until after the thing's back from the press, because I want to get that absolutely right for distribution reasons. I may even want to take a feed from the distributor once they've weighed it to their satisfaction. So this is absolutely not something where we need to get absolutely obsessed with getting this green. As I say, it's not going to block anything. So really nice to be able to trundle through that. This is a set of check results at the work level, and if you're so minded, you can look at check results at the company level by clicking on bibliographic checks over on the main menu there. And you can see that there is some, a complete lack of attention to detail in terms of ONIX audience, real problems with the ISBN allocations there. Keywords aren't looking so great as well. So this is, if you're able to embark on a data quality exercise, if you're able to carve out some time in a particular chunk of the year to focus on your data quality, these are really useful tools to be able to say, okay, what's the size of the work we have to do? What's the progress we're making? So that's using some of the metadata checks there to improve things. And of course, the page that we make these changes on, make these improvements on, is the metadata page. Over the last few weeks, we've been looking at some of these pages, but as we're approaching publication, it's a very nice idea to not only use the checks that we've looked at in isolation, but to start to look at this data with a human eye and to think, is this compelling? Is this going to sell more books? And one of the things I really like to do is actually produce the advanced information sheet to notice in that sort of human readable format if this data comes together into a compelling proposition. So as well as looking on the metadata page, I'm going to look on data exchange and exports. And again, this is at the work level. I'm going to click on one of these advanced information sheets, and I'm going to be creating this PDF only for one work here. So you can see it's just loaded into the browser, and I'm going to be able to download that if I want to, print it out if I want to. So I can see that I'm not entirely sure that this is the most compelling or pithy sales statement that I've ever seen. And I happen to know I copied and pasted it from the Wikipedia entry on cats, so it's not going to be very good. But I'm able to see now that, things really jump out as being problematic. I've got the audiobook version here, and it's not only has it not got an ISBN, but there's no duration. And for an audiobook, that really jumps out as being a problem omission. So use the fact that you can generate advanced information sheets in a click to have a chance to have that human editorial review of your selling information. I find it useful all the time. And as I say, we're doing that at the individual work level, but it's even more useful if we can do it at a slightly higher level. So let's go over to the bibliographic products list area, and I'm going to select a few of our products that have got an image, and I'm going to produce advanced information sheets for 3 at a time. Now I've selected 1, 2, 3. There's no upper limit to how many you can select. You can check that box at the top to select the first 50 on the page, check it again to select everything that comes back from this particular result. But we'll have a look at these 3 for now to prove the point. So I've clicked Perform Batch Action at the bottom of the page, and here's a little rundown of the sorts of things that we can do in batch. So I could run a custom report. That's a spreadsheet. I could create a PDF catalogue. That's a series of PDFs sort of stapled together in a run. Or I could create PDF AIs. Those are single PDFs per work. Or I could create a PDF flyer, and that is a PDF page, but it's got multiple products on that one page. I'm going to create PDF AIs just to pick one. Oh, no, I'm not. I am going to create PDF AIs, and the template I'm going to choose is the default one, and then that's going to not work because I haven't created a logo for my imaginary product, so that's a shame. So benefits of live streaming, what was I even thinking? So I'm going to select some more, and then we'll do a flyer instead, and that will be just as thrilling. What do you want to do? I want to create a flyer, and then that's going to trundle along and be created. So we'll look at that in just a moment. The spreadsheet is quite useful as well, because at this stage it's quite likely that a lot of your data is going to be fed out to recipients who are going to be selling it, data aggregators, retailers, using your data to sell your books rather than selling your data. But equally, some recipients still require a spreadsheet. If you're trying to get your products onto particular retailers' promotional schedules, they might ask you to send that out as on a CSV or in their particular template. So being able to get data out of the system in PDFs and Onyx, but also spreadsheets, is really quite helpful as well. But for the time being, we're going to look at the flyer that has been generated. And as I mentioned, the flyer has multiple products, but on a single page. And it's got some of the core information there. Again, a nice way to sense check whether data is present, whether it's looking good, or whether it's sadly omitted at the moment. So another useful thing that you can do. The next thing that we're going to do is try to enhance our metadata a little bit more. Back on Cats and Space, we've got a bit of a sense now of how the metadata quality is looking on this page. I think we've decided it's not particularly stellar, which is Cats and Space. So what we're going to do is upload the EPUB file that's just been made available at this stage of the publishing process. We're going to upload that EPUB file. We're going to extract some of its metadata, and we're going to use it to enhance our metadata. So here we go. I'm going to say that it's an ebook. I'm going to say yes, it's distributable. I'm going to say that it's approved. I'm going to find this this book. There's our EPUB, and I'm going to hit save, and that's going to upload. And then Consonance in the background is now running through that EPUB. It's assessing it. It's seeing whether it's got any bookmarks. It's seeing whether it contains any metadata of its own. And then shortly we're going to be able to look at that data and extract it, and then see the great things that we've got. So to show you that I've got nothing up my sleeves, I'm going to direct your attention to the ePublication accessibility region at the bottom of the page here. You can see it doesn't contain anything yet. It knows that there's an EPUB on this work, and that would be really nice if we could explain its accessibility. But at the moment there's no actual data. So we're going to be looking to autocomplete that area using the accessibility information from the EPUB itself. Remember, the clock is counting on this. June 2025, I think, new European legislation comes in to try to get us all to be better at providing accessibility information for our e-publications. So it's an exciting time, and it's a great feature to be able to add, and it's also great to be able to reduce the administrative load for perhaps enhancing your backlist as well as your front list. There's another area which is the EPUB types. That is information that can be extracted from the e-publication, but at the moment it's empty, so we're going to be able to use the EPUB to populate that as well. Quick slurp. So we will be looking at the files area, and now Consonance has said, yep, that's been uploaded and assessed, and it has noticed that the EPUB file has got bookmarks in. If I expand this view, then I'm going to be able, that's funny, then I'm going to be able to see something more about this. So you can see this is our file that we've updated. It's been analysed, and it contains these bookmarks. Now, I think we've done this on a previous video. We've taken bookmarks and added them as marketing text. I'm going to do that now, and I'm going to use the nice detailed one. Oh, in fact, the full TOC, there we go. I'm going to add all of that as a marketing text. Wonderful. So I've immediately enhanced my my marketing text information on this work by slurping data out of the EPUB. I mean, it's ticks all the boxes really, because it's tremendously accurate, because we've got it straight from the product itself. It didn't take very long at all, and it's timely. Right at this moment when the book has been created, we're able to make the most of this asset that we control. So that's the table of contents. Here is information about e-publication accessibility. And sure enough, in this EPUB, it's been put together really well. So it contains some sort of codified details and also some free text, a summary of the EPUB accessibility. And just as above, I can click Add Accessibility Information, boink, and I can add the content types, the EPUB, glorious. And now if I scroll down, my metadata has been enhanced with precious little effort, and we're now in a much better position to be able to send an update of this out into the world in Onyx, and for people to be able to use these keywords to search and find for this particular product. You'll notice, by the way, this is Wikipedia and the representation of reality. The book is not Cats in Space, as previously mentioned. Cats in Space sadly doesn't exist, but we should all get together and commission it, shouldn't we? Because it sounds wonderful. So well done, Routledge, the publishers of Wikipedia and the representation of reality, for having such good accessibility information in their e-publications. So that is our metadata really coming on well and really starting to become to address the aims that it set out to do, which is to provide material out there on the internet and in other people's systems that customers can use to find our books and to purchase them. So I feel like we're doing a good job there. We're now going to turn our attention to some of our in-house obligations. When we commissioned this book, we promised in the contract that we're going to provide some gratis copies to the author and to other people. So I'm going to go to the contract at this point, and I'm going to find the gratis copies area, and I'm going to record that information. If I was doing this properly, this would have already been in place, because we shouldn't be doing this close to publication, but that's okay, demo. And I am going to send 20 copies, 30 copies, says my fingers, to Mary Glover, and I'm going to send it around about now, and save that. And so this is a great way when you're signing the contract to be able to formalise the desire to send the author a number of copies. Now, this could be for their files. Oftentimes it's to help them have some assets so that they can send them out to key contacts in order to secure reviews. So it's a good thing to do for sales reasons. It's also a good thing to do to avoid breaking your contractual obligations. So if I had added sent on, then that would have also stored the information that I have sent it. So that's a date that can be put in at a later time. If I go over to track copies, then I'm going to be able to see that information has already been sent out for other products. Cats of the World went out. That reason was it was a review copy. And you can store the result of these track copies going out as well. 5-star review in the Times, very useful to know, because it shows that if we're sending products to Bob Cratchit, they seem to be doing really good things with them. So it's really nice to use Consonance like this to store up the record of what you sent to who and when, and what the result was. And over a short amount of time, you start to see the patterns. I won't bother sending a copy to such and such a person because they keep giving us 1-star reviews. So we can make better use of our assets and our money and our time if we know what the likely result is going to be. So that's track copies, and you can add further track copies, and you can use them for all sorts of reasons, reviews or gratis or other reasons that fit with your workflow as well. Whilst we're talking about contractual obligations, we now want to look at paying advances, because some advances are paid on signature, others are paid perhaps on publication. So I'm going to take you back to the contract. The way to do this is to record, first of all, that you're going to want to send out an advance, and then later, once you've agreed that advance, you pay the advance. So those are two different things. An advance is a promise to pay, and a payment is an actual sending of cash from your bank account to their bank account. So we'll set up an advance here, and we'll say that it's relative to the hardback. This is sometimes difficult to discern which advance is relevant to which one, but if it doesn't matter, then you can pick whichever you prefer. And we'll say that we're going to pay an advance of £200. We don't have to say what the tax rate is, and we can say that the trigger is on signature or on publication or similar. We can put in a due date, and we have to say who the advance is going to, because later on the royalties aspect, which we'll be visiting next week, is going to explain to us that we need to not double pay our advance promises. And if we add a paid date at this point as well, then Consonance is going to create the payment record as well. So I'll go ahead and do that, and then I'm going to be able to see that the payment record is added as well. So we are now going to have a look at Onyx in a little bit more detail. And as I mentioned, on this demo account, we've got Onyx information. We've got the Onyx area, but we don't really have much Onyx information. And so I think what I'll do is just switch over to my big face, and then go over to a different browser where I'm signed in as me. So I expect you know, but Consonance came out of a very small indie publisher, Snowbooks, which me and my friend co-founded in 2003, which is a long time ago now. We still run Snowbooks to this day, and we have live Onyx feeds that go out to a variety of different recipients. In fact, I can show you the recipients here. We've got various templates set up. When you have got your Onyx set up by virtue of contacting us and telling us who you want Onyx to be sent to, then your page will look similar to this. You will see some interesting information, such as the number of days since the last data transfer. You'll be able to see the exact XML file that was sent on that date in this format to this recipient. And if I expand this row, I can see a little bit more information about it. This feed only includes EPUBs. There is a price director, which I'll talk about in a moment. There's an instruction that yes, we want to send cover files, and there's links if I need to see the original assets that went back. So this is a very useful page in and of itself. But the page I really want to show you is this file transmissions page. We've all been there when we go to an external site, could be any number of data recipients, and for some reason the data is not as we expect it to be. It could be an old cover, it could be that we've noticed a typo in the marketing text, in the blurb, and it's made its way onto Amazon and we're frantically trying to get it corrected and it's not being corrected. And what we need in that moment is insight into who has got what data and when, and have they picked it up, because then we can put that on support tickets to other providers to say, you've got the data on this time, I know that you've ingested it successfully, can we please have an update on why it hasn't made it through to your front end yet. So if I have a look at one of these recipients, here I have a file that contains 95 product fragments, and the powerful thing is that we keep a log of exactly what happened when Consonance rang up this other server, tried to connect and send some data. So you read it like this. It's in order, and it says the action is connecting, and this was at 5:13 in the morning on New Year's Day, lovely festive time. So we connected, we changed directory because this recipient has a particular named directory where we have to send data. If we just send it into the ether, then it won't go to the right folder and they won't be able to pick it up. And then we can see a variety of different pieces of data started to be sent over. And the file looks like this because it's a largish file and it needs to be streamed over the internet such that it doesn't time out. So you can see it's writing a few bytes at a time until it's done. So we get to see, I know it's a bit boring, but we get to see that process has happened, and then a success message. Then we switch to the covers directory. Then we switch to the EPUBs directory, and there doesn't happen to be any data to be transferred at that point. And then we've closed. So same with other recipients. Here's one going to Bowker. We connect. This is a Pythia message. The transfer is complete. We've changed directory and we've had a successful goodbye message. So if you ever, definitely get in touch with us when you need to chase these things down. But I find it very empowering to be able to say, perhaps with a slight nasal overtone, you received our data on 1:33 a.m. And then you can just advance the conversation that much more quickly. So that's a nice thing to look at there. Whilst I'm here, may as well just mention that I'm sure you know, but as well as sending XML Onyx files, Consonance sends or is able to send, if you tell us, assets such as covers and EPUBs and extraordinarily large audio files. So if you are signing up with a new audiobook supplier, then uploading your information into Consonance is a worthy exercise, because then that information, those files themselves, can be sent to the data recipient, so you don't have to manage that process manually as well. Great. I'm going to have a look at switching back to the other system now. Yes, managing that, great. And in fact, let's just have a look at our agenda, because we have covered quite a lot. We've looked at getting our data optimized and complete. We've looked at tracking gratis copies, but we haven't yet looked at seasons and grids and discussions, so we'll dip into those. We've done a wonderful job of extracting data out of EPUBs to improve the accessibility of our metadata. We've looked at gratis copies and ARCs, I think I've said there, advanced reader copies to contributors. We've looked at advances, and we've looked at managing wholesalers and aggregators. What I have shown you is the aspect of Onyx that you can see through the interface. But what I would like to show you, at the risk of it being a bit boring maybe, but we'll be brave together, is an example, a slightly redacted example, of the sort of thing that we can do when you come to us with a challenging request to say, we've signed up with this new distributor or this new data recipient. They have very specific requirements about what data they get and under what circumstances. We want to really tightly constrain when we send data to them and what data we send. Can you help? And the big answer is absolutely. That's what we do all day, every day. So always come to us, always raise a ticket to say, we're signing up with this data recipient, we're attaching their requirements, can you have a read and try and make sense of them? Because we've talked to pretty much everybody in the book trade for 15 years about this sort of thing. So it's definitely the sort of thing where you reach out. And I'm showing you this code because you might think, well, surely I just go to a page in Consonance and I set this up myself how hard can it be? Well, designing an interface that would accommodate these emerging requirements that the book trade throws at all of us over time would never really quite get to the nub of the situation. So I've taken this method. This is a Ruby method, and I know that showing you code isn't necessarily helpful, but the beautiful thing about Ruby, which I'm sure you'll appreciate, is that it's primarily in English, and so we can read it like a little story, like a little unfolding set of instructions. And so for this particular publisher, when they send products to Nielsen, what they sort of emailed us, what they want to do is not send special, not have special edition products. Don't send any products that have got internal sales restrictions. Don't send any products that are OP or withdrawn or cancelled within the last 10 days. Don't send anything within a certain imprint for reasons that you don't need to worry about, just do it. Don't send any where there's an ebook content package. Make sure you don't send any where the edition is enhanced, because we're dealing with those separately. Make sure that somebody has ticked the box. This is a bit more difficult to read, this book supplier config, but somebody's ticked a box to say this particular supplier is relevant to this particular type of product. And then look up the work and see, has either the contact or the contract changed since a particular time? And then absolutely double check that there's an RRP GBP Inc tax consumer price, and then merge that with the list of open access free products, but not the ones that aren't. And those are the books we want you to send to Nielsen. And so, I mean, imagine putting the burden of that onto you, the user, to try to articulate it. You know, I wanted to share with you an example of how something that seems just bonkers to specify is very specifiable, and this is how our backend works. We can chain these requirements together and ensure that your Onyx runs to your specifications. This is entirely code that's specific to one of our clients. We have a long, I won't show you, but we have a long list of all of the different client-specific code that we maintain within our code base, which comes under the vast number of tests that we have as well. So, you know, it's definitely the way that we work to encourage you to talk to us about your seemingly arcane requirements, and then we promise they won't be as arcane as all that, and we'll be able to handle them for you. So in summary, the Onyx process is when you are sending when you are setting up a new Onyx recipient, raise a ticket, talk to us about it, and then once they're set up, you have the tools within the system to monitor what's going on and to see. But you know, at that point, you are still more than welcome to continue to raise tickets and ask us for insights into how that's going. Smashing. I think we're doing all right for time. What I would like to do next is loop back to that pricing import. Remember, I was going to say that we were going to look at pricing and importing that in bulk. So let's just scamper back to the pricing for this particular product. So there are prices in place. This is fine. There's a GBP price and there's a USD price, and I can absolutely go in and edit these manually now. In fact, let's do that, and then let's do it the automatic way. So as with anything else on the metadata page, what we do is present you a hopefully pithy, aggregated view of the data that exists at the moment. And then also an opportunity to say you could add some more data if you wanted. You know, you could add sales restrictions, etc. And we also take the opportunity to just give a little sense as to whether this pricing data stacks up against each other. I'll show you what I mean. I'm going to I've clicked to edit this, and I'm going to set the USD X tax price for the audio file, that's a bit silly actually, to $32.95. And when I save that, I'm going to get, again, not a blocker. Nothing is going to break because you've entered this information, but this is the perfect use case for a computer to notice a discrepancy against a pattern and to make a suggestion that you might want to now apply your human brain to look at it. So what this says is the price that you've entered is $32.95. At the moment, 1 GBP is $1.27. And if you use that exchange rate, you'd actually get USD 12.73. And so your $32 is quite a lot in excess of that. So, and it says, any percentage less than 60% or more than 150% is highlighted like this. So again, you don't need to change this, but I think it's really nice just to draw out of a page that's got a lot of information on it some of the elements that you might want to pay a little bit of attention to. So we can change data like that. I should also mention that on this client, there's only GBP, Inc. and USD X. This is an area where we take configuration requests from clients. So if you want to manage Indian rupees, then let us know, and Indian rupees will appear on this list in the usual way. You can set different tax defaults as well. So we're defaulting to Inc. tax for GBP, X tax for everything else. So that's fine. But now we're going to have a look at the pricing across all of the products. And if I go to my products page, it's not going to give anything away there. So I'm going to use my custom exports to export the prices as they exist at the moment, and then update them. Now I'm going to select products that have got an ISBN, because you will need an ISBN in order to as a key to import new prices against. So I'm going to select those two and then perform batch action. And the first thing I'm going to do is run a custom report to get the existing data out of Consonance. And that will make sense when we go over to the import pricing area, because we're going to need to get our data into a particular format so that Consonance can understand it and import it. So I'm going to run a custom report, and I've prepared one earlier. It's called Prices Download, and it contains the columns that we're going to be needing. So that report is running for our two records. Very good. And notifications will tell me in a moment when that has produced itself. And once we've got that file, we're going to open it up and edit it and have a look at any of the other aspects. So let's go over to Data Exchange, and we can see where we're going to import that pricing data. So I've gone to Data Exchange Imports, I'm clicking on New Import, and I'm clicking Import Prices this time. And there's a list of instructions, and it says download the prices template spreadsheet. Now, last time I tried to share a spreadsheet, it really didn't work. So I'm doing it a different way this time. And here is the one I was faffing around with earlier. So we're going to be able to open the prices template. And that is a very spare looking file indeed. No, don't save, thanks. A very spare looking file. It's got some column headers and not much else. So we've got an ISBN, a title, currency code, price type, price qualifier, and price amount, and absolutely no instructions as to what to do with that. So let's go back to our instructions here, and we've got some verbiage that we can get some sense out of. So each row requires ISBN, currency code, price type and price qualifier. Rows with an empty price amount will delete any existing price with that match the currency type and qualifier combination. So you can use this to, remove a bunch of prices that you're no longer supporting as well. And there's a link here, learn how to complete the prices template. So I click on that and that opens the documentation. And this is going to tell me much more information about the columns. Now a page like this exists for each type of import. This is the pricing import. We also have contact, royalties, sales, and one other, products. But for this one, you need to add the ISBN, and here's some information about any problems you might come up with. Title is not required, but you can use it for guidance if you're trying to eyeball which products you want to change the price for. And then it says currency code, price type and price qualifier. So great, we get some insight into what those are. And you're directed to the list of potential currency codes that you can use. This is list 96, so I'm going to click on it and I'm going to see, yes, these are familiar, these are currency codes. So I know which ones I'm interested in there. Price type is much more onyxy, and once you start getting your eye in on prices, you tend to think, yes, it's going to be RRP X tax or it's going to be RRP Inc tax, and then every now and again one of these other more arcane price types are relevant. And also price qualifiers, and these are things such as consumer price is the one I tend to use the most, or corporate price, or member price, or library price, all sorts of options there. So these are the values that you're going to enter into that spreadsheet. So let's go back to Consonance and check whether that download has happened. It has. So I'm going to grab the custom report. Try and remember how to get to that. And open that file in Excel. It's always Excel that foxes me. So here is our export from the system, and it's got our two records in. It's really tiny, with the ISBN, the product title. It's got the current GBP code, and the current price amount is $9.99. And when I set up my custom report, I added in 2 blank columns from the extras option, because I want to be able to copy and paste into this, and just having to add in 2 extra columns is a bit annoying. So I tend to set up the custom report export from Consonance in exactly the format that I'm going to need to manipulate it in Excel. It's one less thing. And so I'm going to use my new knowledge about what a price specifier is, and what a price type is. So I'm going to copy the template thing. No, thanks. What? Yes. And then I'm going to paste those headers into my import spreadsheet. I need to come up with a price type, a price qualifier, and a new price amount. So looking back on our information, my price qualifier is going to be 01, I think. No, it's going to be 05. And really, the reason I wanted to show you this, we're finally getting to the point, is that when you put 05 into Excel, it disappears the 0. And I really wanted to let you know that adding a 5 is going to work. You don't have to do that thing with the backtick and the 0 and the 5 to make it into a string, although you can, but it's a real pain. You can put a 5 in and that will work. And you can be reassured on that, because in our documentation it says Excel may remove the leading 0. The importer can process either 01 or 1 as the Onyx code. So these docs tend to go into quite a lot of detail, column by column, as to what you need on your imports. So it's quite good to come and point your nose at this. Price type, let's have a look again. I think we want a 0, 1 for this, although we know that Excel is going to get rid of our 0, so 1 is absolutely fine. And now we're going to go and look at the price amount. Let's assume that there's an incredible demand for cats throughout history, and we're going to really bump up this price. In fact, we'll make that one $39.99. And I'm going to save that, go back to Consonance, that's the file we're going to import. So I browse, I select the file I've just saved, I upload and I validate. And I'm very happy and confident to just sort of wang an Excel file at Consonance, because the next stage is that Consonance is not going to do any sudden moves. It's going to assess the file and report back any problems, or even if there are no problems, it's going to make sure that you get a chance to review the situation before any data is put into the system. So it's going to be it's queued for processing at the moment. Somebody else must be ahead of me, and the file's being uploaded. And once that is uploaded and processed, we'll come back and have a look at it. Just having a quick look at our agenda to check I haven't missed out some huge aspect, and I think we've done a lot of the things that we need to do at this time in order to be ready for selling. The last bits will be looking at the grid and looking at discussions and seasons, which we have touched on before. So sure enough, this is now been assessed. It says it's ready for approval. We can hit the approve import button, but if we wanted to see any of the detail, then we've got the chance to see that here. This is the data that will be imported. So I can approve import, and it's all very well for for one or two products, but when you're dealing with a list of 5,000, 50,000 products, that's an interesting way to take a set of products, to apply some logic to it. You might be doing a 5% increase or decrease, and then swiftly get them back into the system. Before we sign off for the day, I am going to look briefly at seasons to see how we're coming along. The books that we've been working on are in the Spring-Summer 2024 season, and I've got this page where I can have a look to see if there are any really odd data emissions that I've decided not to look at. So, you know, I haven't yet classified 17 of these works. Well, how can my sales team know which ones I really want them to focus on? So, you know, that's something to fix up. What else have we got? We've got 33 to-dos that are overdue. Well, you know, clock's ticking, so let's make sure we click through, you know, which I won't do now because we're running out of time, but click through and have a look at who needs to do what, when and why. We've got other insights. We're not given an in-house edition to quite a few products, and we haven't even given a publishing status to some of them, so that's great to see there. So this page really adds another layer of insight into your data, an ability to see an aggregation of the products that are most pressing at this time. You know, we are going into this spring-summer season. We really need to know that everything is looking okay, and we need to be able to satisfy our colleagues throughout the business that either everything is all right, or there are areas that we need resource freed up on to assist us with our programme. So that is a lot of the tools that we use for the selling part of the process. As we were saying, we've got a number of different areas, but it really does come down to data quality. So we've looked at some of the pointers to improving that data quality, and then the methodology for getting those feeds set up and sending not just new data but this revised data closer to publication. Always improving, always chamfering and buffing and making sure that the data is as good as we can get it. After publication date, there's going to be reviews coming in. Add those reviews in to the metadata page. And if you would like one of our focus sessions in the future to be about adding marketing texts, that's one of the best ways to get beautifully human data out into the world that will absolutely help you to sell more books. So I think we've reached the end of selling for today. Next week is royalties, so tune in for that. Thank you very much. Like and subscribe, as they say, and I'll see you next week. Thanks very much.